How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to Continues to Tick. So in last week's video, I was fortunate to have hit the nice milestone of getting paid $1,000 a year in dividends. The journey remains long, but one day on this current path, I hope to eventually say, rather than say $1,000 a year, say $1,000 a month. And as I don't plan on stopping this documentation on this YouTube channel or my investing strategy, I expect it to one day be on one of these videos. You see, reaching this milestone is inevitable, the way I see it, as long as I can remain on my current path. The only difference from right now and that moment is time. And the hardest part, consistency, maybe mixed in with a bit of luck, or just not encountering too many bad stretches of bad luck. While on this same line of thought though, if you remember 2 weeks ago, I uploaded the video on why it is I likely won't retire as early as I initially thought with dividend investing. And that was in part 1, and as promised, and by the title of this video, we now have part 2 with the more technical parts, where I'll actually explain and describe how, the way I see it, similar to my one-day goal of reaching $1,000 a month in dividends and dividend payouts. As long as I remain on my current trajectory, I have a rather comfortable retirement waiting for me at the age of 50. And although that's not as early as I thought it'd be, there are very few adults I personally know that retired by that age, which should say a retirement by 50 is not something to be taken as a disappointment or a consolation prize. It's still very much a rather impressive goal. So with this said, in this week's video, I'll go into detail on how, on my current path, I will retire by the age of 50 with comfort, meaning I won't have to live a life of frugality into my golden years. With this more technical video, I'll be explaining more specifically my entire retirement strategy, the potential catalysts to fast track this process, and potential disruptors that may actually cause this process to take longer still, past 50. So let's begin. So hopefully here, you can see I took some time to really create a layout of how it is that I plan to explain this all. But first off, as it states here, how do I plan to actually retire comfortably by the age of 50? Well, there are a couple pillars here that I have, a total of 4, which I will use to accomplish this. The last one, not so much, but I'll explain once I get there. But first things first, let's start with the dividend portfolio. So as you guys already know, it's kind of like the preface of this whole channel, is that I'm starting a dividend growth portfolio. I really believe in this strategy long term. And rather than invest strictly for growth and have to use the 4% rule, for example, to take out funds in retirement, which if you look into it, it's really only supposed to last about 25 to 30 years. And if you're trying to retire early, it may not last you that long, especially the earlier it is that you actually retire. But by investing in dividends, or should I say investing for dividends, you'll be growing up a nest egg, one that technically you won't go into in retirement, depleting the nest egg in size over time. In actuality, you'll keep your nest egg size, and you'll actually just be using the dividend payouts to survive on in retirement. And as you can see here, we've been at it for over a year now, and we're currently with the portfolio size of $36,508.62. And this is on the all-time charts. The markets have been pretty crazy lately, so our overall return hasn't been where it used to be. There was a point where we were touching about 40%, and here we are dipping below 30%. But nevertheless, even though our market gain goes down, our earned dividends goes up. And if you saw my last week's video, we actually reached that nice milestone of finally reaching $1,000 in dividend payouts for the year. And before you know it, it's going to be $1,000 every single month, as long as we remain on this path. And that's what it's all about. As you can see here by the activity section for this past week, getting paid in dividends by UGI, MDU, CTBI, PepsiCo, DLR, and with this dividend snowball of $19.72, I really do believe in this strategy long term. Versus having to use the 4% rule, we won't be touching the principal, and in the future we'll be living off dividends. And hopefully by that point, as I'll show you here in a moment, it'll be over $1 million portfolio by the age of 50. And if you go on Google and you just type in dividend drip, you'll actually come up to, I think it's the hughcalc.org website. And it'll take you to this pretty neat calculator right here, which is one that I currently use. So if I zoom in here, you can take a closer look. You can put in the principal amount balance, which currently I have $36,000 in a portfolio. My monthly contribution, I put $2,000 because that's about how much I invest every single month. I leave this at 1 here just for simplicity. And then for the expected percentage increase of a stock price, I put 7%, which is pretty conservative. But we'll run the calculation this way. And then number of years to invest. I'd put 24, because I'm trying to retire by 50. I'm currently 26. But the way this calculator works is that it really doesn't count year 1. It counts year 2 as your whole first year. So I put 25. And then if you look at the current dividend yield, if you looked at my last milestone video, it was anywhere between 2.8 and 3.15, I believe. So I put 3.0. And then expected dividend growth rate, we'll just say it's 5%. And for the expected dividend growth rate, I just left it at 5%. It's a pretty conservative number overall from my research, from the things that I've seen. And then, we put the drip, we left that activated, and then we just said yes for taxable, because I do have this in a taxable account, if you're curious. And then we ran it. And then if you look here at the bottom, by the age of 50 for me, I should have a $2 million portfolio, dividend portfolio. By the age of 50, if I just remain on this trajectory, if I can just keep up with this pace. And I do know it's a rather speedy pace, but being a registered nurse, it's a pretty good lifestyle as long as you're able to take care of your money and have a pretty good financial plan. So in having a portfolio size of this much, we'll have a dividend payout from the portfolio alone of $40,332. So just an approximation, it'll be about $40,000 that I'll be getting in dividend payouts by the age of 50. So let's keep that $40,000 in mind. And let's tally it here for potential retirement income at the age of 50. So here we are with our dividend portfolio paying us $40,000 in dividends at the age of 50. And as we move along, here we got state pension. If you've been watching some of my videos, I have mentioned that I do work as a registered nurse, and I do also work for the state of California. And because of that, I do hopefully after, years in the workforce, will eventually get a pension when it's all said and done. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to work for the state, was just having that in my back pocket. Ultimately I invest for dividends. That's kind of like my defensive strategy. On top of that, I'm also expecting the state pension on top of that. So let's dig into this a little bit more. This is actually a snapshot of my retirement that I have currently going on with the state. As you can see here, I do have over 2 years for service credit. It's 2 years working for the state prison here in California. And this cash balance here, it's just my contribution so far. It's money that comes out of every single check that I make. And it's money really I don't see or feel. It just gets automatically taken every single pay period. But this first box here, your estimated unmodified allowance, is $3,480.72. Below that it says, estimated earliest retirement will be in 23.890 years. So slightly under 24 years. I'm currently 26. 26 and 24, I'll be 50. So if I continue on this current path, I'll be eligible for retirement from the state of California with a pension at the age of 50. And at the age of 50, with this retirement from the state, they'll be paying me $3,480.72 every single month for the rest of my life. $3,480.72 times 12. That'll come up to $41,000 that I'd get just from the pension alone at the age of 50, or starting at the age of 50, for the rest of my life, just because I decided to, at the age of 24, start working for the state of California. It was something I actually wanted to do. I figured, I'm already a registered nurse, I can go work for the hospital, but I was never really interested in hospitals. I figured, what? If I work for the state as a nurse, I'll likely get a pension. And that's ultimately what kind of led me into this path of trying to make my way to get a pension. So far, at the age of 50, we'll have $40,000 in dividends being paid out. We'll have $41,000 being paid out in a pension. So far, at the age of 50, just with these two things, I'll be making about $80,000 in my retirement by not even needing to work anymore at the age of 50. And I think that's pretty amazing. But we still got a little bit more. So here we are on the third pillar. It's the 457B account. If you're not too familiar with the 457B account, it's a tax advantage employee retirement plan, as you can see here, which is sometimes offered by state and local public employers. So for me, by working for the state of California, it is something that is offered. And in my opinion, it's way better than a 401k. For a 401k, there's actually a penalty if you take it out before a certain age, which I believe is 59 and a half, but not with the 457B account. For a 457B account, there's actually no penalty if you withdraw it before the age of 59 and a half. So therefore, technically, when I go to retire at the age of 50, I can get a little bit more income by starting to dig into my 457B account. And it's one that I started opening. And just to kind of go a little bit more into detail for this account, as of this previous pay period, I was depositing about $100 per check into this account. And it's about $800 so far. It's not too much. But I did recently get a raise. And because of that, I decided to put a little bit more money into this 457B account. For a moment, I was debating whether to put it into the dividend portfolio, but I decided let me put it into this 457B account instead. I didn't want to have all my eggs in one basket. So I currently upped it to about $500 every single paycheck. And as you can see here, going back to the hughcalc.org, and I have no affiliation with this website, but I really do enjoy their calculator here. But if we take a closer look here, $800 is my portfolio size of my 457, and I'm currently going to start adding $500 on a monthly basis to this portfolio. We can say the expected percentage increase of stock price, we can say it's about 9%, a little bit more than conservative, but let's just say it's 9%. It's actually not an account that's going to be managed by me, but by other people, so I'd expect professionals to do pretty good. And the number of years to invest, well, the same thing as in the other calculator. I put 25 because, as I mentioned earlier, the first year doesn't count on this calculator for some reason. And then no dividend yield and no expected dividend growth rate. We could say no for the drip, and then we could just say no for taxable. And then we calculate this return, and we look down below here. By the time I'm 50, I should have a portfolio size of $515. And using the 4% rule, that'll give us about $22,000 per year, in addition to our $80,000. But one thing I do want to point out though with the 4% rule, it's a little misleading. Unlike dividends, unlike the pension, those things are technically for life. I'm not really affecting the principal. But now when it comes to the 4% rule, you do have to be a little bit more careful. Using the 4% rule in retirement, your savings will only last about 30 years. And in some places, it actually says 25. If you're talking about a portfolio size of only $500,000. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. But let's go ahead and just add it to the list. So here we are, at the age of 50, on my current path, on my current trajectory. If I was to retire and not change anything from what I'm doing today, and wait till the age of 50 to retire, I'd get $40,000 from my dividend portfolio. I'd get another $41,000 from my pension. And then I'd also get $22,000 from my 457B. But let's take note, sure, the $22,000 would only be about until the age of 75. But I would imagine by the age of 75, my expenses would be a lot less. I mean, I'd be 75. I don't know how much I can buy or how much fun I can have at that age. But so in total, this comes out to $103,000 at the age of 50, gross, that I expect to have in retirement, as long as I stay on this current trajectory, on this current path. And let's take note, this is only for myself. It's not including my partner, just for me, which I would say that's pretty comfortable. Now the hardest part is just staying disciplined, staying course, and seeing if I can personally wait till the age of 50 to retire. That's going to be the hard part. But I would say this in a snapshot, it looks pretty good. And I think it'd be something I'd be willing to wait until the age of 50 to receive. But you're going to be like, Jesse, I saw 4 pillars there. You've only talked about 3. Well, what's the 4th one? Well, the 4th one is health insurance. If you've done any research into the FIRE movement or early retirement, you know that health insurance is a pretty big pillar and a pretty big expense, especially in early retirement. Because if the time comes and you do actually go to retire early, you're no longer working. So you're no longer receiving those benefits from your employer when it comes to your health insurance. So you may likely have to pay it out of pocket. And you're likely too young to qualify for Medicare. So there's a couple factors there. But what I plan to do, because I'm working for the state of California, in addition to a state pension, in addition to a 457B account, there's a really big benefit when it comes to health insurance. And considering I started working for the state of California at the young age of 24, as long as you're able to work 25 years for the state, my insurance won't change at all from what I have it right now. Even in retirement, the state would contribute 100%, just as they're doing right now, for my health insurance, leaving me a really, really small health insurance payment every single month in retirement, starting at the age of 50. So when they do say working for the state provides really good benefits, that's pretty much true. But I do have to work 25 years or more, which in result will actually be saving me a lot of money and providing me a pretty good health insurance into my golden years when I do need it. But now switching gears a little bit, as you saw from a little preview here, what are some potential catalysts? So I'm saying I'm going to retire at the age of 50. I'm saying that's the earliest possible chance that I can retire on my current path, considering my dividend payout, considering my state pension, my 457B account, the benefit for the health insurance. But what are some potential catalysts that are in front of me that can actually allow me to retire before the age of 50? Here's a couple that I thought of. So one is real estate. At this current time, I'm not invested in real estate. I haven't bought a house. I still currently rent with my partner. We do happen to live in California and everything's just so expensive right now. It really just doesn't make sense. But a goal of mine is to eventually either have an almost paid off house by the age of 50, or at least maybe have one rental property at the age of 50. So having real estate is something that could potentially fast track my retirement. Another thing that can happen is this YouTube channel. I know I'm having fun with it. I look at it like a hobby right now, but you just never know. It can be a dark horse that just pops up out of nowhere, and it can provide a little bit more income on the side. But I'll reassure you at this moment, it's not providing anything except fun for me and hopefully entertainment for you. Third on this list is what I call my Hail Marys. So back in college, about the age of 21, I actually got into a cryptocurrency. I actually was also buying penny stocks. And I still actually hold two, one of each, from the time when I was investing in my early 20s. At the end of the day, if they go to zero, it's really not going to break me. I bought them quite a long time ago where it really doesn't matter at this point. But if they do hit success, if they do hit the mark, they could be two things that give me a pretty good momentum and might help me retire by the age of 50. Another thing here on this list is the potential for my partner's finances. I know by doing the math, we got about $103,000 that I'd be getting in retirement at the age of 50. But that's just including myself. That's not including my partner's finances. And my partner works hard. She has a really solid career ahead of her. And she's really smart with her finances. But her finances on top of mine may also lead to potential catalyst to an earlier retirement than the age of 50. Who knows? And another big one here is just not having kids. I know people say kids are expensive. Some people say they're not expensive. Whether they're expensive financially or not, some people may differ that opinion. But the one thing they do take is time. And time away from you could take away also opportunity in one way or another. And who knows, by taking away opportunities and gaining some opportunities in other avenues, sure, who knows what that outcome can be. So at this moment, my partner and I have decided to just not have kids. And they're really not on our horizon. And we're both on the same page with that. And not having kids might save us some money. And maybe through that, we may retire earlier than 50, who knows? And then here we are with potential disruptors. So as opposed to the potential catalysts, here we have things that may potentially get in the way and hinder my retirement by the age of 50 or at the age of 50. And these are things that can happen. Who knows? This first one that I put on the list is just poor health. If my health suffers, it may not allow me to continue to go into work. And before I even hit the mark of 26 years working for the state, poor health can really impact this entire plan. I may not retire until the age of 65. If that were the case, who knows? But it could definitely be a potential disruptor. So definitely, the journey's long. We have to take care of our health. So hopefully, we're lucky with our health moving forward. Another one here is actually having kids. So as opposed as to what I was saying earlier, and not having kids. And having kids, there's a chance I may not actually retire by the age of 50, as I initially planned. Having kids may potentially cost me a couple more years in the workforce. It may even cost me some money going into the dividend portfolio, slowing the growth of that portfolio entirely. And then the last thing I have here is just probable chance. And what I mean by this is just sometimes things often don't play out as you imagine. It's really nice to have a plan. It's really nice to have in the far-seen future that you look forward to. But at the end of the day, some things just come up in life that you have no control over. Maybe you lose a family member. Like we were talking about earlier, sometimes you can just get poor health. Maybe something comes in your life and you just really get depressed and you can't move. You just never know. So that's probably the biggest potential disruptor on this list, is just probable chance. And we'll just have to see how it plays out over the next couple years, as I do plan to continue to document this journey. And we'll see how it turns out, but I'm looking forward to it. And I think it will be fun. But as we wind down from this video and all the information provided, at least I feel like I provided quite a bit of information. I usually don't get too technical, but this is one I actually was looking forward to doing. And I think it's really fun. It kind of allowed me to reflect and see how it is that I'm actually doing, currently at the age of 26. And a lot of it is just planning for the future, trying to get yourself in the best possible position, moving forward. And I'm all about thinking about the future. And second, allowing time to pass. And just as my channel name infers, time, it continues to tick. It doesn't matter whether we're alive tomorrow or not. I mean, as far as I know, tomorrow will still happen, whether it happens for me or for somebody else. So as long as we can try to position ourselves the best way possible for our futures. And then second, allowing time to just pass and pass and pass, we should be okay. And if you made it this far into the video, it'd definitely be appreciated to hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely consider doing so. This journey's been fun so far, and we've been at it for over a year now. And we're seeing a little bit of momentum here on this channel. A couple more subscribers have joined the journey, and that's really neat to see. And for me, it's very exciting. And so with enough of that ramble out the way, we made it through 7 days. And because of that, we have a high chance of making it through another 7. And I'll see you then, come Monday of next week, as always. And as always, take care. Peace.